Get her!
The furious screams echoed around Violet as she crossed the finish line for her 8th lap. Just 2 more to go.
Oh, God.
She gasped, but barely had time to breathe before icy water slammed into her from all sides. It felt like standing under a raging waterfall, the force of the water almost knocking her off her feet. Just as she feared, Autumn Carson was out for blood after that little stunt. And Autumn didn't roll solo. The pure-blooded werewolf and her loyal posse aimed their hoses at Violet, blasting her with freezing water while ignoring everyone else. Violet figured the other runners were probably thanking their lucky stars they weren't her. She was getting the brunt of it. Where'd they even get so many hoses? But that was the least of her worries. The icy spray was relentless, coming from every direction. Violet could barely see, her vision blurred by the constant deluge. Her breath hitched, the water choking her as it went up her nose. A dull pressure filled her ears, muffling all other sounds. It was like the whole world had shrunk down to this icy, blinding torrent. But Violet fought back. She pushed through the onslaught, her body screaming with exhaustion, refusing to give in. She wouldn't let Autumn win, not like this. She knew if she fell now, things would get way worse. Autumn and her crew would probably drown her if they had the chance. Finally, Violet broke free, stumbling to a stop, gasping for air. She looked like a drowned rat, her hair plastered to her head in wet, tangled clumps. Her training gear clung to her, dripping water and outlining every curve. She shivered, grateful she'd worn a bra. As if on cue, a whistle pierced the air from the elite sidelines. One of the werewolves was staring at her, his eyes raking over her soaked body. Violet's stomach churned with disgust. But the guy's attention was short-lived. A blur of motion, and before Violet could blink, Asher slammed into him, his fist connecting with the werewolf's face in a brutal punch. The sickening thud echoed across the field, silencing everyone. A few other werewolves who'd been eyeing Violet like she was a piece of meat quickly backed off, as Asher punched the guy again. Apparently, the psycho had decided Violet was his project, since this was the second time he'd fought her battles today. What the hell? Violet was stunned. What was Asher doing? He couldn't just go around punching every guy who looked at her. This was exactly the kind of attention she was trying to avoid. Now, everyone would think they were a thing. Great. What do you think you're staring at, asshole? Want me to pluck out those eyes and feed them to you? Asher snarled, his voice dripping with rage.
No! Alpha, Asher!
The unfortunate werewolf whimpered. But you do have to admit, she's quite a sight, a voice chuckled. Violet's eyes met Roman Draven's. Just like the unfortunate werewolf, Roman also gave her body a once-over. But instead of Asher launching a flurry of punches at him, he merely growled a warning. Roman laughed, completely unfazed. So Alice had been right. Roman was the only cardinal alpha Asher could tolerate. Almost immediately, Violet's eyes met Asher's, and even with his glasses, she could sense the brewing storm. The intensity of his gaze made her stomach twist, with a mix of fear and excitement. He both thrilled and scared her, a weird combo. What are you waiting for, little purple? Asher taunted, his voice dark and almost sinister. Why aren't you running? Or do you need me to chase you? A shiver ran down her spine. Hell no. Violet didn't need to be told twice. She took off, sprinting like her life depended on it. She could hear Asher's mocking laughter behind her, but she refused to look back. She wasn't giving him a reason to chase her. Not now, not ever. She was going to finish this race, no matter what. Focused on the finish line, Violet ran past Hazel Sterling, her roommate. The once perfect Hazel now looked like a hot mess, sweaty and disheveled, just like Violet, she'd fallen victim to the water attack. Though not as soaked as Violet, she still looked rough, and judging by her stumbling run, she was about to collapse. "It's none of my business," Violet told herself. Hazel was too proud and hated her guts, so why should she care? Yet, as Violet saw Hazel stumble and fall out of the corner of her eye, she groaned and turned back. This stupid, kind heart of hers was going to get her into trouble one day. She just knew it. Violet slowed her pace as she approached Hazel Sterling, who was struggling to get back on her feet. The scene was pretty funny, to be honest. Violet kinda wished she could watch it all day. But she was on a mission. Hazel's exhaustion was obvious. Her pride bruised along with her body. Violet could see the frustration etched on her face. After all, Hazel was someone who usually strutted around like she owned the place. So this vulnerable display was a rare sight. She probably hated that Violet was seeing her like this. "Get up," Violet grumbled, annoyance lacing her tone. Violet didn't want to be there, helping Hazel. It would have been way more satisfying to see the disgust on Hazel's face while she scrubbed toilets. That would make her day. Maybe Alice's whole be nice thing was rubbing off on her. But Hazel was her roommate, and they both needed to pass this stupid test. Sometimes you gotta be the bigger person. So Violet reached down and grabbed Hazel's arm, pulling her up despite her protests. Hazel looked shocked and irritated, like she couldn't believe Violet was helping her. "You know I don't need your help," Hazel spat, her voice shaky, totally betraying how she felt. "Sure you don't," Violet retorted, rolling her eyes. "But you look like you need it, so shut up and move." You don't understand." Hazel shrugged away from Violet's grasp. "My feet hurt, and I'm so exhausted I can't even lift a finger. Just leave me alone." Violet clicked her tongue. "You're exhausted, but you can still whine? Trust me, if you have enough energy to talk, you have enough energy to run." She sighed dramatically. But fine, if you want to quit, no problem. Enjoy scrubbing those toilets." Hazel's eyes widened, like she'd suddenly remembered the punishment. She stood up, her gaze shifting hesitantly to Violet, a slight brush creeping up her cheeks. "So how do we do this?" she asked uncertainly. "Come on, start moving. I'll teach you how to run right so you don't burn out so fast." And just like that, they started jogging, Violet in the lead. "Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Keep your breathing steady. It'll help you find a rhythm," Violet instructed. Hazel nodded, trying to follow along. "And keep a steady pace. Don't go too fast, or you'll tire out quickly," Violet added. "A steady pace saves energy. Just take it easy." Hazel watched Violet closely, mimicking her movements. She focused on staying relaxed, keeping her shoulders down, and matching Violet's stride. It was still tough. It felt like she was dying, her breath wheezing with the effort. But it wasn't as bad as before. Having someone there, showing her what to do, made it feel easier. Running alongside Violet gave her motivation to keep going. They ran side by side, almost like best friends. Almost. Deep down, they both knew this truce was temporary. Once it was over, they'd go back to hating each other. But Hazel had to admit, she disliked Violet a tiny bit less now. When they reached the finish line, Violet couldn't help but notice that no one sprayed them with water. Surprised, she quickly figured out why, or rather, who was behind it. It seemed that particular brand of hazing didn't set well with His Highness, Asher Nightshade. Someone clearly didn't like other guys checking her out. Good for him. Not that Violet cared if they stopped or not. Nothing was stopping her from finishing this race. "I don't think I can hold on," Hazel Sterling gasped, her chest burning with every ragged breath. "Hold on. We're almost there. We can make it," Violet insisted, grabbing Hazel's arm and slinging it over her shoulder. It felt like a mission impossible. Violet was already exhausted, and Hazel's added weight made her legs wobble. but she gritted her teeth, focused on the finish line, and pushed forward with pure willpower. Finally, they made it. The second they crossed the line, they collapsed on the ground, gasping for air. Sweet relief. Both were drenched in sweat, their clothes plastered to their aching bodies. Violet felt like her muscles had been put through a meat grinder. If I didn't know any better, I think this is a military school, she muttered. Hazel burst out laughing, but it quickly dissolved into a coughing fit. Her throat was parched. She desperately wanted water, but she was too wiped out to even think about moving. Suddenly, a shadow fell over them. Violet frowned. Roman Draven stood there, a smug grin on his face. She hated that guy. There was still a score to settle between them. Roman drawled, looking down at them with fake adoration. Haha, look at you two, all snuggled up like lovebirds. But as much as I hate to ruin this romantic moment, you've got 5 minutes to recover before we resume training. So make the most of it. Bask in each other's company. It's limited. He winked and walked past them. With Roman gone, Violet turned her head, her eyes meeting Hazel's. Suddenly, she understood Roman's comment. They were lying on the ground, clinging to each other. Hazel's head resting on Violet's arm. It did look misleading. Violet studied Hazel for a moment. Her roommate was pretty, and in another universe, they might have looked like a couple. As their eyes locked, the realization seemed to hit both of them the same time. Without a word, they shuddered and scrambled away from each other. That was so weird. What kind of crazy stuff has Roman Draven put in her head?
Violet wasn't the first to cross the finish line. A few guys had already made it, showing off their muscles. And Alice too. But she wasn't last either. The race was over, and the results were clear winners and quitters. And among the quitters, Violet spotted Lily Fairchild. Oh, shoot! Violet muttered under her breath when she saw Lily scanning the crowd. Her face crumbled with disappointment, tears welling up in her eyes. When their eyes met, a wave of guilt slammed into Violet's chest. She'd been too busy helping Hazel Sterling to even notice Lily struggling. Alice must have seen the look on Violet's face and guessed what she was thinking.
It's not your fault, she said. You can't save everyone, Violet. Then, trying to lighten the mood, she added, Hey, at least you've proven you're not made of stone. And whose fault is that? Violet snapped, then turned and walked away. She couldn't stand being around Alice or looking at Lily's heartbroken face. It was illogical because it wasn't her problem. It was a race. Everyone was on their own. But she'd helped Hazel Sterling, the roommate she disliked, and left Lily, the nicer one, hanging. Okay, abandoned was a bit dramatic, but still. This was exactly why Violet preferred being alone. It wasn't because she was a loner. She knew that wasn't true. The real reason was that she cared too much. And in a cutthroat world like this, caring too much just meant getting betrayed, stabbed in the back for your kindness. Violet took a deep breath, pushing down the swirling emotions. This was all Alice's fault. Her words, her very presence, were making her feel things she didn't want to feel. But she wasn't going to let Alice mess with her head. By the time Violet opened her eyes, the knot of anxiety in her stomach had loosened, and she was back in control. While trying to compose herself, Violet drifted to the back of the crowd, where she suddenly noticed Griffin Hale. Wait a second, Griffin Hale? Violet wasn't sure she'd seen the guy smile, and he definitely wasn't smiling now. Waves of anger radiated off him, practically buzzing in the air, making her skin tingle. It brought back the memory of yesterday when he'd almost choked her. Was it only yesterday? It felt like a week ago. So much had happened. Violet froze as Griffin got closer.
She braced herself, expecting him to grab her throat again, maybe finish the job this time. But he just walked past, his shoulder brushing hers. That brief touch felt like a jolt of electricity, sending a wave of heat through her body. She caught a whiff of his scent, a mix of warm woods and amber with a hint of citrus and spice. He smelled like pure strength and energy. Instinctively, Violet turned to follow him, curious about who had ticked him off this time. The other trainees seemed to sense his fury too, parting like the Red Sea. His pace quickened, his eyes locked on his target, ready to unleash his rage. Violet slipped through the gap in the crowd before it closed, trailing Griffin towards the front. She arrived just in time to see him lock eyes with his victim. Oh, crap. Asher Nightshade was in the middle of a conversation with his friend and fellow Alpha Roman, when Roman suddenly stopped, his eyes drawn to the angry figure storming towards them. As if sensing the trouble brewing, Asher turned just in time to be met with a furious roar from Griffin. The sound was wild and menacing, echoing through the air and sending chills down Violet's spine. Almost instantly, Griffin's fist slammed into Asher, sending him flying backward with surprising force. But Griffin didn't stop there. He was on Asher in a flash, grabbing his shirt and yanking him upright with savage intensity. Then he started throwing punches, blow after brutal blow. Each hit landed so hard that Violet's stomach churned. It was terrifying. Griffin looked like he was trying to kill Asher.
Asher!
Violet screamed without thinking, stepping forward. She barely moved before someone grabbed her from behind. She spun around, furious, and found herself face to face with Dion.
Let me go! That jerk is gonna kill him!
Violet yelled, struggling against his grip.
Are you crazy?
Dion snapped back, holding her tight.
Nobody gets in the middle of a fight between two alphas. You want to get yourself killed? But he's gonna kill him.
Violet snarled, her dislike for Griffin boiling over. It wasn't like she was Asher's biggest fan, but he was the only one at the school who'd been even remotely helpful. Whatever his reasons, at least he wanted her around. She needed him as an ally, not dead.
No, he won't. This isn't the first time two alphas have gone at it,
Dion said sharply, his voice intense.
Just in case you haven't noticed, fighting is what wolves do. They fight to survive, fight to prove themselves, fight for what they want, fight to be on top.
His words were like a slap in the face, but they also calmed her down a little. Her anxiety eased as she looked back at the fight. Asher was finally landing some punches of his own, but Griffin was still clearly winning. As if to prove Dion's point, Coach Jones casually stood up, looking completely unconcerned, like this was just another Tuesday. It was no big deal at all. Suddenly, Violet felt embarrassed for freaking out. Coach Jones's voice boomed over the commotion.
All right, gentlemen, I think we'll call it a day. Time to head back.
Some of the students cheered at the idea of skipping more training, but nobody moved. Everyone was glued to the fight.
I don't get it,
Violet said, frowning.
Do they just, wake up and start prowling like stray dogs? Or is there a reason Griffin is doing this?
Dion looked at her like she'd grown a second head.
You haven't figured it out yet?
Figured out what? She asked, confused. His expression turned serious, his voice dropping low.
Grant's part of Griffin's pack. Asher beat him up. This is Griffin's payback.
Oh, shoo. Violet breathed, her chest tightening. This fight was because of her. Asher was taking a beating because of her, and she was completely lost about how she felt about it.
Hey amazing viewers, it's Voilette here. Thanks for sticking with us. By the time of the release of this video, only 3.1% of our viewers have joined the party by subscribing, and 96.9% of you might miss out on our next mind-blowing video. So what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and join the exclusive club.